After the shoot, Yvonne told me, you know what, Bill, you've done quite a good job. Manze, take this 300 shillings and just go and buy yourself something. Thank you for today. You've made my day. I didn't tell her anything. I just said thank you. But immediately after she left, I called my dad and I told him, you know what, I've made my first 300 shillings from photography. I'm not quitting and I am walking through this journey from today henceforth. Yeah, that was the first money that I made, and it was at the end of May, after 2 good months of shooting without making any coins. Yep. So from there, I would be very, very active on social media. I knew that Instagram was the thing by 2016 for photographers. So I knew I had to grow my followers. I have to be posting photos. So I would post photos at least 3 times a day. And I really grew my followers. Also thanks to, you guys remember Gain Train and Gain with Christian Della. We used to use those things, and for me it really helped me. Because fast forward, by the end of 2016, I had over 10,000 followers from a mere less than 100 followers. But before that, so I've just made my first 300 shillings. And a friend of mine, Alan, tells me, you know what, there's this guy calls himself Gibu Sang. He's doing a photo shoot somewhere in a museum, and I see he's charging people 1,500. Man, you should also learn how to charge. So how about we see if we can go to that photo shoot so that we can know how he charges and everything. So I called the guy and I asked him, you know, can I just come to that photo shoot? And I just want to see how it goes. He asked me, do you have a camera? I said, yeah. He told me, yeah, you bring it. Just come and we try and shoot. So reaching there were around 5 photographers. Then something amazing happened. Some didn't have a camera. Others, I don't know, there's a problem with the speed light. Then a camera battery ended up in Aisha, and like one of them didn't even really know how to take photos. So I ended up being the main photographer for the event, where Gibu was in charge of planning. And then we had this guy, right now is the producer, what's he called, Dante? Dante was the one who was like running the show. So he would organize everyone where they could go. And then I was doing the shoot with Jimna. At the end of the shoot, we made some good money, I think around 12,000 shillings. So when we split among all of us, we all ended up going home with around 2,000 shillings. Now that was my the second time that I got paid. From then it now became like a quick journey. People started knowing about me, photo shoot after photo shoot after photo shoot, until this day that I now got an opportunity to shoot at Michael Joseph Center. So this was in August, and I was invited by my sister's best friend Irene to go there and shoot for her. She's a stylist. So when I arrived there were all these big photographers with the big cameras, the 800s, big lenses. Like I just felt I was lost. Everyone there felt like they knew what they are doing. The models were so good at what they were doing, runway models at the time. That's when I met with Ntinyari Mburukwa, Mbaire. You guys are still my friends. Thank you for believing in me since that day. So, yeah, and I remember that's when I met this photographer called Bem Imamo. So I told Bem, wow man, you guys are lucky, you have all these good cameras, you can take great photos. And he told you know what, you might be having a very cheap camera, but I can see at least you have a good lens. That's a 50mm, it can shoot in low light. If you do a good job today, you're going to believe in yourself so much and you might even take better photos than us. So I felt psyched up, and at least he helped me. He told me where photographers stand during fashion runways, and I did my thing. After that, I wrote a very good blog about some articles, actually, about some designs by one of the stylists too, who was called Viona. Thanks, Viona. Your article was among the best that I've ever done. And from then, my business continued to grow. Then I got invited to a wedding as a photographer in Tanzania by a friend of mine called Steve. So Steve booked me actually. He had booked me actually in July. So by the time it reaches August, I had already received some deposit from him, and I was so ready to do the shoot. I'd organized some of my friends, Vim and the rest, to go and help do the shoot. Now, just a moment. Just after I'm done now with this photo shoot, I'm excited. I've already been booked to do a wedding in Arusha. I was so excited about it. Exactly 1 week after the fashion runway, my name was really hyped. Now people knew about me. The fashion models that I had taken photos of from the shoot I had posted photos about me, a few celebrities. I was somewhere. I was so excited. I was super excited about photography. Like, I would just wake up early in the morning just to take photos because I felt it's something I love and it's making me money. And people are believing in me. So, 1 week later, when I was just preparing to go to Arusha, I happened to get robbed. Actually, I was not robbed, I was more conned. This is someone who had pretended to be a friend to me. And he had really predicted all of my moves, and he invited me to Garden City. I remember we went there, and I had already known him like for four good months. So I went there knowing that he's a friend of mine. He used to drive. I think anyone who has ever been conned knows a little bit about such a story. So yeah, he was pretending that he's going to introduce me to a very big client, and since I was all excited about making this money and creating a big network, I went. And I remember him leaving me in the car and asking me after I leave the car, because we were going to meet this guy, and then now we go and shoot something. So I left everything in the car, and it was not my first time in his car, so I was so comfortable about it. So I left the car, and I went. He had told me that he's in Java, Garden City, so we had parked somewhere up. So when I went inside, I called him. He said, no, you're not actually in Java, we are at cafe. When I went to that cafe, when I called back, his phone is actually not being answered. It's saying that number is not in use. So by the time I went back to the parking lot, that's when I realized that I've just been conned. And when we went to try to look at the security footage, it was so hard to even recognize him because he was wearing a hat full time. Nothing was real. His name was not real. The number plate he was using was not real. So even when he tried to use the cops, nothing could be done. And right then I had lost my laptop, which I had used for like 5 years. It had all of my footage from Nigeria, all of my photography projects, all of my software engineering projects. I lost my camera and all accessories. So I was just taken down to 0. And I had to begin from there. So please make sure you watch the next episode so that you can know how I moved from there to where I am right now. Because I can tell you this, I went through a period of depression during that time. It was bad. It was really bad for me. I had to go home for a while just so that I can recuperate and gain my strength. So see you in the next episode. Tell you more about my story.